This 14-year-old girl took the life of her disabled sister while she was sleeping. Just days before the horrific act, she went viral on TikTok in what are now considered to be some of the most chilling videos ever uploaded to the platform. Welcome back to Twisted Minds. My name is James, and today we're going to be talking about the case of Claire Miller.
She looks familiar.
Today we're surrounded by technology, and it seems like anyone and everyone can have a large social media following of some sort. However, oftentimes with any level of fame, there can come a lot of misfortune, and that was the case with Claire Miller. Yeah, this case is going to be pretty messed up, so buckle up, because this one is a doozy.
14 is crazy. For murder? Come on now.
Claire Miller was born in 2007, making her just 14 years old at the time that changed her life forever. Her parents, Mark and Marie Miller, did everything they could to provide their children with the best lives possible. The two got married in 1997, 10 years before Claire would be born. The two eventually settled down in Manheim Township, Pennsylvania, where they decided to start a family. Claire's older sister, Helen, would be born in 2002. Her birth was a shock for the entire family because the moment she was born, doctors began to suspect that she was suffering from some sort of medical disorder. She wasn't able to interact the other way babies do, and it seemed as though she had trouble moving certain parts of her body. They would soon learn that Helen was born with cerebral palsy.
Ah, okay. Yo, I know it's crazy. Like, I hear about cerebral palsy a lot because I work with a dude at a call center with cerebral palsy, but like, I never truly understand what it is. You feel me? Because dude that I knew, like, he walked fine, but he just walked with like a little limp.
I'm sure that most of us are familiar with this disorder, but in case it's new to you, cerebral palsy is a permanent movement disorder that affects its victims from birth. Cerebral palsy can cause its victims to have very stiff muscles, with many patients being unable to move their arms completely, oftentimes feeling as though their arms or legs are locked in a certain position. Because of this, many patients, like Helen, are confined to a wheelchair for most of their lives. Thankfully, the disorder doesn't necessarily have to get worse as the patients age, so long as they are receiving proper medical care. And it seems like Helen was getting the best care money could buy. Her parents did everything they could to make sure that Helen had every opportunity to enjoy life to her fullest. After just a few short years, Claire Miller would be born in 2007, meaning Helen was about 4 or 5 years old at the time. She would grow up like your average child in the late 2000s, and it seems like her life was going perfectly normal. She had friends at school and was leading a very satisfying life. In fact, her parents were so concerned about her getting a proper education that they enrolled her in Lancaster County Day School, one of the most expensive private schools in the area. Mark and Marie.
Bruh, I don't be understanding, bro. These kids be having it good, yo. Like, these kids be going to private schools, be having chefs, dinners, nannies, cars at 13 years old, mansions, bro. They be living good, and they turn to serial killers. I be wondering how, bro.
The best they could for their children. However, nothing could prepare them for the tragedy that was about to overtake their lives. Over the course of one short night, their lives would change forever. It was the evening of February 21st when Helen Miller decided to head off to bed. She had already done her nightly routine of changing clothes, getting washed up, and brushing her teeth. She would make her way into her room and tuck herself into bed, just like she did every other night. As many teens often do, Helen felt as though her bedroom was one of the safest and secure locations in her life. However, Claire had other things in mind, and soon enough, would exploit her sister's vulnerability in the worst way possible. Claire was never considered to be a troubled child. On the surface, she seemed to be a well-put-together young woman, though in more recent months, she had been spending a lot of time on social media, particularly websites like TikTok and YouTube, where she amassed a decent following of users who wanted to tune in to her everyday life. She would often post vlogs to YouTube in which she would film her daily routine and share her life with her viewers. On top of this, she managed to find between 20 and 30,000 followers on TikTok after several of her videos started going viral. However, something was clearly brewing deep within Claire, a feeling she couldn't quite shake. It seemed that her violent nature would finally awaken on the evening of February 21st.
Yo, violent nature is crazy because violent nature kind of like screams that it's innate, right? So, and like that's my question for y'all. Do y'all think it's innate? Like, is some kids just born with that, or is it groomed into them, or is it something they just learn, right? Because was Claire just a violent kid at birth, just a serial killer, just waiting to kill, bloodthirsty?
That night, Helen had tucked herself into bed, and Claire snuck out of her bedroom and headed toward the kitchen. Once there, she searched around, hoping to find a pair of rubber gloves. She finally found them, slipped them onto her hands, then continued with her disturbing plan. She spent a few short moments in the kitchen before she decided to reach into one of the drawers to remove a sharpened knife.
Oh, nah.
According to reports, without a second thought,
using a knife means you really want to kill. Like, a gun is the kill. Bro, take a gun and just shoot somebody, that's easy to do. You feel me? Like, and like you can do that in a split decision. You take a knife to go yang. Nah, you really bloodthirsty. Like, you really want to kill. Like, you pressed to kill somebody.
Helen had no idea what was about to take place, as she had been deep in sleep at this point.
Wow.
Granted, this was around 1 a.m., so no one in the home was awake when Claire decided to carry out her vicious and cruel attack.
Wow.
As she entered Helen's bedroom, she slowly approached her sister's bed and attacked Helen by jabbing her in the neck.
Wow.
Though this wasn't the end of her attack. She proceeded to attack her sister several more times before deciding that she struck her one final time in the neck before quietly exiting her bedroom and making her way to the front door. By this point, the sheets had turned a crimson red, and it became very clear that Claire had pushed Helen to the point of no return. As Claire reached the front door, she casually exited the home, making sure not to wake her parents. Then she headed down the front porch steps. She removed her rubber gloves and, according to investigators, seems to have tried to clean the blood off her hands using the snow that covered the ground. We don't know why she chose to do this instead of washing her hands in the sink inside, but I think we can assume that it was probably done to avoid waking up her parents, but that's just a guess.
That's amateur work. Washing your hand in the snow. You know she
would leave her bloody gloves on the snow-covered ground, making her way toward the front porch steps. It would seem that at this point, the reality of what she had done had just began to sink in. She began to get confused and disoriented, unsure of what she had just done and concerned about her actions. Then, after all this effort to keep quiet and not wake her parents, she did the unthinkable. She called the police. When the dispatcher answered the phone, she explained what she had just done.
Oh, wow, she confessed?
Needless to say, officers were on their way to her home and immediately arrived within minutes. When police began to pour into her driveway, they noticed that Claire was covered in blood from head to toe.
Bruh, what's the point of it? Bruh, wait, hold on, bruh. Yo, if you just gonna do it and telling yourself, what's the point?
Her shirt had been soaked with blood, as well as her pants. According to one officer, the blood was so heavily staining her clothing that it was literally dripping off as she stood outside on the cold winter night. Officers then say that Claire revealed her dark deed to them in one simple sentence: "I stabbed my sister."
Wow.
At first, police felt as though Claire was mistaken. They felt that, in reality, Claire had been left in shock by something that took place within the family home. They couldn't believe that a young girl like Claire would be capable of such an unspeakable act. They did their best to console her and get more information out of her. And it was at that moment that she directed officers to investigate her older sister's bedroom.
Wow.
Inside, they found Helen's bed, covered in blood with the murder weapon still jutting out of her neck.
Wow. Nah, she different. Nah, she a different type of animal, bro.
As police began to search Helen's room, the truth of what had just taken place became shockingly clear. The evidence was apparent as ever, and officers knew right away that Claire was to blame. When they first approached Helen's bed, they found that she was lying face up, covered under sheets and a pillow. One of the first responding officers removed the pillow that covered her face and found that the murder weapon was still lodged in Helen's body.
Wait, hold up. It was... Wait, hold up. Was she facing down or up? Because if Claire put the pillow over her face while stabbing her, And what that like tells me is, and that was Claire's attempt to detach from it, right? It was so gruesome, and she knew what she was doing was wrong that she put the pillow over her face to kind of like detach herself from it and not really, like feel the real momentum of like what she was doing. But if,
covered under sheets and a pillow. One of the first responding
faced
officers
up. Okay, yeah.
removed
So
the
Claire,
pillow
okay,
that
gotcha.
covered her face and found that the murder weapon was still lodged in Helen's body. Even though it seemed very apparent that there was no hope for Helen, officers decided to do their best to try to resuscitate the young girl. Though after many failed attempts, they realized that their efforts had all been in vain. By this point, Claire and Helen's parents had both awoken and had learned about what had taken place. They were completely blindsided by the news and couldn't understand what would lead Claire to do such a horrible thing. To say that they were left in a state of shock would be a dramatic understatement.
Bro, I can
When
imagine.
they went to bed the previous evening, they were a loving, happy family of 4. Now, after being woken up in the middle of the night, they learned that their family had been torn apart in the blink of an eye. One of their
I can understand and Helen, right, being a mean older sister, right, who's just attacking her.
After Claire confessed to the crime, she was taken to the local police station and placed in an interrogation room. Even though she had just given a confession at the scene, police needed to make sure that she wasn't being pressured into confessing to the crime. As it would later turn out, there was no pressure. Claire had simply decided to claim the life of her sister for virtually no reason at all. In fact, that's what makes this case so insane. No one has any idea what Claire's motives was for taking the life of her sister. Police have not revealed if she explained the situation to them in private, and her attorney is not making any comments about the situation either.
Wow.
As soon as the details about the case were released publicly, Claire found an additional 10,000 followers on TikTok. In the end, she ended up with 32,000 TikTok followers, but TikTok would eventually shut down her account after they claimed that she violated the terms of service. Claire made her way to court in March of 2021. Obviously, cases
Please give her a life, yo.
of this nature can be tied up in court for a very long time. So, we don't have
Wow,
many
she
more
pled
details
guilty,
at this
though.
moment. What makes this case even more tragic is that it seems as though Claire will never have a chance of bettering herself or turning her life around after what she did. Even though she is only 14 years old, she is being tried as an adult.
Wow.
According to several news outlets, this means that she could be given a life sentence or even be given the death
Give her the
penalty.
death penalty.
Regardless of where you stand on the case and regardless of whether or not Claire will be sentenced to life or death, it is truly tragic to see 2 young lives that were completely thrown away. We will simply have to wait and see how this case plays out to know what kind of punishment Claire will be facing.
Man, bro, they're supposed to give her life, bro. The death penalty. At 14, she knew what she was doing, bro. Especially, like, if you doing it with no motive, bro. Like, you just walked in and killed your sister for no motive. Like, she ain't bother you. She ain't hurt you, right? She's barely functioning. Bro, give her life, man. Y'all let me know in the comment section what y'all think about this, man. What does Claire deserve, bro? As a 14-year-old, should she get life or not? Let me know, right? It's your boy, Poetic Flacco. Peace.